All right, so today is Saturday, August 29th, and here's what I got done this week. I guess I'll start off and show the surprise. I had ordered it about a couple months ago, and I was told that the lead time would be a year, so I put a deposit and got started on it, and KitFox way beat the lead time expectations. So this is a KitFox STI kit. And that'll be my next build. So I'm really excited for it. I'm gonna put a 915 on it and just make another cool airplane. I haven't really gotten into it too much yet, but one thing that I thought was really cool, the only box I've opened, I thought was really cool. They give you kind of like a start here box, and they give you some cool little things that are unnecessary but just awesome for home building. A step-by-step certification guide to kind of help you get through the process of registering your plane and the DAR and all of that stuff. I haven't opened it yet, so I don't know the extent of what it covers, and now that I'm pretty much through the process once, I'm sure there's things to learn. They give you 2 binders. The first binder is kind of like your invoice and like kind of an intro stuff. It gives you a bill of sale because you need that to get your registration from the FAA. And then kind of step by step for how to inventory it, and this is kind of like the basic walkthrough of how to get moving on it. And then they give you the build manual. Some supplementary stuff because the STI wing has some changes to it, and but yeah, the manual from what I've seen so far is really nice. It gives you step-by-step instructions with illustrations, and it's not in color like the TSi manual is, but as long as it's more thorough than the TSi manual, I don't care about the color. So yeah, so it's a little exciting. It's a totally different plane, a totally different mission. But it should be fun. So yeah, I just wanted to kind of show a little bit of that, and the videos will continue after the TSi is done being built with this next little adventure. So anyway, here's what I got done on the current build. I'm not gonna let that one get distract me too much. I got a whole plane to finish here. So I got the rest of the windows bonded in and ready to go. I think that they came out really nice. I'm really happy with them. Yeah, just once you've done the first one, it's a fairly straightforward process. I don't know if I mentioned last week that I finished the upholstery on the back. My carpets were cut for having the parachute box, and Airplane Factory has really stepped up their production. So they got this sent to me in like a week after I told them it was messed up. So, you know, as long as they can keep up with better lead times on missing parts and everything like that, then I think everything's going to be really good for them. And I really love the plane. Obviously there was the growing pains for them with the explosive popularity of this particular plane. But yeah, so I got the intercooler mounted up this week. When I had the bottom cowling on, it kind of helped me place it. And so I started by just getting this top bracket mounted on it right here. And then I put this hose on it, and that just the 2 of those hold it in place well enough so when you remove the bottom cowling, you're able to get the bottom bracket, which is there, installed, and the bottom hose. So my top hose didn't need any trimming, but my bottom hose needed to be trimmed to fit. So I haven't put the bottom cowling back on yet, but I think it's a good fit. One thing I did that I definitely want to mention is I waited to extend my fuel pump electrical wire too long. It's done now, but I would highly recommend doing it definitely before the intercooler and before the fuel lines and everything. It'll just make a lot easier access to get there. and get it installed, and getting that, in order to get the wire in, you have to take the whole plate off the fuel pump and plug it in, and then install that grommet, and then put the plate back on. And that was really the struggle, but wasn't too bad. But definitely, if you can do it earlier, do it earlier. I'm not sure why I put it off so long, but I did. So anyway, so I've got my oil cooler that goes here. The lines are cut to length and ready. I actually crimped one with the OET, the Oetiker clamp, and the hose was too short, so I had to scrap that and order a new clamp. So no big deal, I'll just get that next week and install it when it comes. So another thing that I noticed was the top skin here was covered in like a thin pink film, and through my carbon fiber little side project over there, I learned that when they mold these parts, they have PVA layer for like a mold release, and it sticks to the part when they pop it out of the mold, and that's what that was. So PVA is water soluble. All you do is take a wet rag and kind of wipe it down, and it comes off no problem, rather than trying to sit there and like flake it off the whole way through. So I was talking about these little voids in the layup in another video, and so I went through and found, I think, all of them, just kind of poking them lightly with I actually used an Allen wrench, but you could use a drill bit or just any small metal piece, and kind of lightly push on the bubbles, and if they pop through, kind of clear them out and get them ready to fill. And obviously if they don't pop through, then it's good to go. So yeah, so as you can see, there's just tons of them along the edge. So you definitely don't want to leave them and risk having your paint end up looking like that after you spend a ton of time or a ton of money getting it painted nicely. So I got the cowlings. I think the cowlings are completely ready now. They're trimmed up. All the final trimming I think is done. I got the inspection panels installed. These actually were a little bit more work than I would have expected, just because I was using sandpaper to get them to fit. I trimmed them with my Dremel and then used sandpaper to get the final fit, because I wanted a nice clean fit the way around. That's Sharpie, it's not a gap. And so one of the things that was weird about it was this panel is much thinner than this panel. So this panel was, not only was it thicker, like there's certainly more layers of fiberglass on this one than the other one, but there was like a epoxy kind of like gummed up on the edges outside here, and it was making it thick, and when you went to close it, it didn't want to close nice and tight. It would kind of like bow it up a little bit when the epoxy would hit. So I had to take a bunch of time to kind of sand those out smooth and get a nice clean fit. All these rivets are not countersunk. Mostly, well, for one, it comes with these rivets to do this and not countersunk ones. I probably would have done it anyway had this panel not been so thin. So that was not going to hold a countersink. So rather than having just 4 regular rivets and a bunch of countersunk, I went with just kind of what the kit includes. There is enough thickness here to countersink all of these. And so I'm going to countersink them and then rivet it on. And then I'm going to have to do something about this gap here. I've seen pictures of TSIs that don't really have this ugliness, because you can see the curve of the composite doesn't match the curve of the metal. So I want to fill it, and I got to decide whether Sikaflex is going to be a better option or the Superfill kind of lightweight body filler. The trade-off is that the Sikaflex won't get as perfectly smooth, and the body filler, I don't know how much vibration is on this cowling. I wouldn't imagine that there's a whole lot. But of course the worry is that the superfill will kind of like crack over time on that joint. So either way, it's already all sanded and ready to receive whatever treatment I give it. Another thing I got to decide is whether to enlarge these holes and install kind of the cam lock fasteners before or after paint. I think it would look better if I did it before, because then it could, it would be painted the same color as the plane rather than kind of the gold cam lock color. But then you run the risk of getting paint clogged in it, and of course it's probably going to chip off after removing the cowling and things like that. So I'm leaning more towards I'll enlarge the holes but not put the cam locks in until after paint and just have some gold cam locks. I think that's what most people do. So the bottom cowling is done as well, and I will install it again next week just to kind of get a final fit up and cutting these tubes to length. But I got all the clamps are all installed and nice and tight. And underneath, let's see if I can do this one-handed while I'm filming without. Underneath, you install this kind of foam stuff so that when you clamp it, it gives something to clamp to. It doesn't say that anywhere in the firewall forward stuff, but it does come with that foam strip for that. So something else that I ran into was this air duct for the air filter was a little too long, and so I cut off about 15 millimeters of it, just making sure to leave enough to let the hose clamp get to the hose. But basically what happened was it was aligning with the air filter box here, like almost touching, maybe 10 millimeter gap, but it was like off center maybe by 10 millimeters. So I decided that trimming it a little shorter to allow the kind of angle of the ducting to meet up to the air box there, it was going to be the best bet. So yeah, it's coming together, and I did get some good news about a hangar space. I've got a meeting next week with a lady to check out a hangar at an airport. It's a little further away than kind of what I was hoping for, and it's a lot smaller of an airport. But it's hey, hangar space is hangar space, so keep the show on the road. And yeah, the runway is only 2,900 feet long, but I mean, of course that's more than enough to take off and land the plane. But if I was going to do any kind of fast taxi or ground effect stuff, it's still doable, but you don't get as much time. And but after talking with Airplane Factory and kind of looking at it, they don't really recommend doing a whole lot of that kind of testing anyway, because this isn't a full-on experimental. It's a kit, and there's several of them flying. So yeah, I'll have to feel it out, but either way, 2,900 feet's enough for a fast taxi for sure. So I can kind of feel out and make sure everything's running smoothly. So I'm excited for that. I think the hangar problem might be solved. I don't want to get too excited about it yet, but yeah, I think that's it. So I guess getting a hangar space kind of reinvigorated the push to get the rest of the build done here. So I had to order more Sikaflex for the windshield, but next week I will finish up the cowling stuff, and then get the panel and the dash kind of permanently installed. And hopefully by the end of the week, the Sikaflex is there, and I can bond the windshield in, and then pretty much it's just time for paint. So that's it's coming down to the wire here, so I'm really excited. But yeah, that's it. So have a good weekend, everybody.